is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald. Well, the big day comes. And, of course, I'm here in Strasbourg, and Theresa May was here last night, a last-minute press conference. Let's just remind ourselves why. Back at the end of January, she suffered an historic defeat to her withdrawal agreement. She lost, if you remember, by a margin of 230 votes. And this all led to senior backbench Conservative Sir Graham Brady putting forward an amendment to say that the government should replace the backstop with alternative arrangements, and it passed, including, of course, the support of Theresa May herself. So what happened last night? Well, what happened last night was this. The withdrawal agreement did not change one little bit. But we got some new documents. We got a joint instrument document. We got a unilateral declaration by the UK. And we also got a supplement to the political declaration. And I promise you, if you want to read it all, it's not very easy to comprehend. But last night, late at midnight, in a press conference, sitting next to Jean-Claude Juncker, Theresa May told us about this great breakthrough.
Third, alongside the joint instrument on the withdrawal agreement, the United Kingdom government will make a unilateral declaration that if the backstop comes into use and discussions on our future relationship break down, so that there is no prospect of subsequent agreement, it is the position of the United Kingdom that there would be nothing to prevent the UK instigating measures that would ultimately disapply the backstop.
That use of the word would, it was a certainty. We would be able, if things broke down, to get out of the backstop. That is what the vicar's daughter told us last night. And I know a lot of you have got great faith in her. A lot of you perhaps feel sorry for her. But when I heard that last night, I said to myself, is she actually telling the truth? Well, today we found out from the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, and he told us exactly what the legal position was.
Let me make it clear. The legal risk, as I set it out in my letter of the 13th of November, remains unchanged. As a political judgment, the House should now enter into those arrangements.
Well, he makes it perfectly clear, and he wrote a letter and he signed it off, and the last sentence of that letter couldn't have been clearer. The legal risk remains unchanged, that if, through no such demonstrable failure of either party, but simply because of intractable differences, there is no internationally lawful means of exiting the protocol's arrangements. I repeat, there is no internationally lawful means of exiting the arrangements. So there's the Prime Minister telling us an amazing breakthrough. We would be able to leave the backstop unilaterally, and today her Attorney General shoots it down in flames. This was Mrs May earlier on today begging MPs to vote for her deal.
A lot of focus has been put on legal changes, and I'll come on to the fact that there are legally binding changes as a result of the discussions since the House's vote on the 29th of January. I'll just complete this. But the Right Honourable Gentleman is absolutely correct. The danger for those of us who want to deliver, to have faith with the British public and deliver on their vote for Brexit, is that if this vote is not passed tonight, if this deal is not passed, then Brexit could be lost.
So there we are. Back my deal or Brexit could be lost. It really is the last throw of the dice from a Prime Minister. I'm sorry she's got a bad throat, but I did notice when she was coughing yesterday, she always seems to cough before she says something that is demonstrably untrue. So I think, seems to me, this deal goes down. I know the ERG have been meeting, and perhaps bringing us some news of that meeting is LBC's political editor, Theo Usherwood. Theo, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. Just to bring you up to date with where we are right now, we have a vote at 7 o'clock. It will be just a straight up and down vote on Theresa May's deal. And according to the calculations that I and others have done, we're expecting a defeat of around 150. There have been 20 switchers this afternoon, people like Ben Bradley, the vice chair of the Conservative, former vice chair of the Conservative Party, saying that he will now support Theresa May's deal. Johnny Mercer, the MP down in Plymouth, former soldier, saying he will now support Theresa May's deal. But, Nigel, it has only been a trickle. It has not been the flood that the Prime Minister has been looking out for and hoping for. Boris Johnson a few moments ago stood up in the House of Commons and described it as a humiliation. He said the only way forward now was to leave the European Union without a deal if the UK wanted to maintain any sense of self-respect and avoid a humiliation. So Theresa May facing a defeat tonight. It will be a heavy defeat, though not as heavy as last time. And now she has to, and then she will have to decide immediately after that vote about how to proceed next and whether to go for an extension of Article 50.
How does she survive this, Theo? I mean, it seems to me she's politically, she's placed everything on us leaving the European Union on March the 29th. And she could, I suppose, stick with the legislation and take us out with no deal. But given there's no indication of that, can she survive as leader?
She can survive as leader, Nigel. She has a couple of options. If we go with the first option that she's talked about previously and gave a commitment to the House of Commons to pursue, that is tomorrow there'll be a vote on a no-deal Brexit. Tory MPs would be offered a free vote. Labour have indicated that they wouldn't support that, and so that vote would be likely to fall, and so we would go into Thursday and there would be a vote on an extension to Article 50. The European Union said yesterday that could only go up until the European elections on May the 23rd. And of course, it's very unlikely, almost impossible, in fact, that she could secure any actual changes as a result of that extension. It would simply be about trying to change the perception amongst members of the DUP and within MPs within her own party and trying to persuade them that the only other extension would be much longer, and then that would result in a second referendum. Now, if it is close, there is a understanding, a belief, sense, momentum behind the idea that Theresa May might decide to put the vote again immediately to the House of Commons tomorrow, in the hope that given how close we are to an extension of Article 50 on Thursday, MPs might be persuaded to vote for it.
Sounds a bit unlikely to me. Theo, thank you. Please don't go too far away. So if you were there, sitting in that chamber tonight, what would you do? Because there are risks here. Very clearly risks. I mean, Nick Bowles, for example, the Conservative MP and Remainer, he said today, we will do, and he's talking here to the Eurosceptics, we will do whatever it takes to frustrate you. We will vote to stop no deal. We will vote to extend Article 50, and we will work with the opposition parties to build a majority for a softer Brexit deal. So you've actually got Tory MPs openly threatening each other. And, there are people. I mean, Tracy Crouch was saying not long ago she's going to vote for the deal because she genuinely fears that if she doesn't, there'll be an extension and there could be no Brexit at all. My position, and if this does come to the European Parliament where the final vote is under Article 50, my position is quite clear. I think this deal is so awful. In many ways, it's worse than the EU membership we've currently got. I think it should be rejected. But you tell me, what would you do if you were in that House of Commons tonight? I wonder, Elizabeth in Greenwich, who's a first-time caller. Elizabeth, if you were there tonight, what would you do?
Oh, hello, Nigel. It's lovely to speak to you. Nigel, I would vote it down, as I would have all along. But my question to you is, if the default position with no deal is that we can leave, why isn't that being pushed? Who would push that? Who would put that through? Because this is just all this extension business and all this threatening. If the default position is to leave, we've got no deal.
Yeah. The position's simple, Elizabeth. It's really simple. There is a piece of legislation. It is the EU Withdrawal Act. It is the law of the land of this country, and it says we are leaving at 11 p.m. on March the 29th with or without a deal. And the truth of it is, if the Prime Minister does nothing, and she and the government are the only people that can change that law, we would leave, if she's got the will to do it.
Right. What happens if they vote the no deal down? Because that's not actually law, is it? If they were to say tomorrow...
If they vote the no deal down, the Prime Minister could simply ignore them by not changing the legislation. She could still deliver Brexit. She could, Elizabeth, in my opinion, still get a statue on the 4th plinth in Trafalgar Square. The trouble is, she said in the past that she would abide by the decision of the House of Commons.
Right. and not by the electorate.
Well, look, one thing about this leader of ours, she's very, very good at saying one thing and doing another, so she's unpredictable. My view is that she hasn't got the courage or the self-belief to take us towards a no-deal Brexit, which right now is the only way, I think, that Brexit voters like you can get delivered what they voted for. Elizabeth, thanks for your call. And it is actually worth noting that a YouGov survey, albeit the work was done before last night's press conference, but it showed this week that only 12% of adults think Theresa May's deal honours the Leave vote. What does Jeff in Ilford, another first-time caller, make of it? Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Nigel. Yeah, I think this is a dead duck. But what happens now? As far as I'm concerned, this withdrawal treaty is a wretched affair that's been with us for 2.5 years, and they are still tinkering with it. Geoffrey Cox has been the latest tinkerer-in-chief, and it's getting us nowhere. I think we should stand back, review the options we have, and in this respect, the WTO option stands head and shoulders above everything else, and that would be
now the most popular view in the country, isn't it? That is now the most popular view in the country. But, Jeff, you just criticised Geoffrey Cox. Wouldn't you agree with me that actually today he did the honourable thing and he told the truth?
Oh, he certainly did that, yes. I mean, that's quite an unusual thing to have happen when this treaty is concerned.
That's what I thought. I wonder, Jeff, could Geoffrey Cox be the next leader of the Tory party?
Well, he's got the voice for it.
Certainly has. Jeff, do you feel totally disenchanted with politics in this Brexit process?
No, I think, Nigel, as I say, if we went for the WTO option, which is a constitutional issue and as such cannot be left just to the vagaries of Parliament, it should obtain the sanction of the British people by referendum. And if they say yes, that would be the signal for Theresa May to go.
Well, I at some point she will. Michel Barnier just tweeting, listening to the debate in the House of Commons, there seems to be a dangerous illusion that the UK can benefit from a transition in the absence of the withdrawal agreement. Let me be clear, the only legal basis for a transition is the withdrawal agreement. No withdrawal agreement means no transition. He loves us, that Barnier, doesn't he? He really does. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15 and time for the news headlines. With Lisa Aziz.
MPs are now preparing to vote on Theresa May's revised Brexit deal within the hour after she secured legally binding changes to the contentious Irish backstop. But many say the improvements aren't good enough. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says an avalanche on Ben Nevis, which has killed 2 climbers, is absolutely tragic news. Boeing says safety is its top priority as it suspends all 737 MAX model operations right across Europe following Sunday's Ethiopian Airlines crash. LBC weather, a yellow weather warning for wind is in place for Wales, Northern Ireland, most of England and parts of Scotland as Storm Gareth hits, a low of 3 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Jay Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 still has delays of around 2 hours towards junction 25 for the A10. One lane is closed there with an accident. The queues are reaching the M1 at 21. Anti-clockwise, one lane remains blocked before Potters Bar at 24 with another accident that's causing delays back towards Waltham Abbey at 26. Now, both of those problems are causing severe delays both ways on the North Circular between the M11 and Coney Hatch lanes. Still on the M25, long delays clockwise onto the QE2 bridge after a lorry broke down earlier. A serious accident's blocking the southbound A12 from Mount Nessing at 12 to the M25. And on the trains, due to earlier power problems at Paddington, Great Western have delays of an hour. TfL Rail aren't running to Terminal 5 and there's a reduced service on Heathrow Express. And London Overground can't run from Gospel Oak to Stratford.
LBC.
I pledge to leave a gift in my will to cancer research for my family, my friends, my neighbours, for the people I know, but for the people I don't know.
I'm an immunologist as well as a cancer biologist. I pledge to keep researching so we can have more survivors like my grandma. A lot of us know somebody who's got cancer. She's here today because of all the research.
Join the supporters and researchers pledging to beat cancer with Cancer Research UK. Find out how you can make a pledge to leave a gift in your will at cruk.org/pledge. Together, we will beat cancer.
Would you and your business benefit from a personal approach from your accountant? At Barnes Rofe, Of course, our partners have the technical skills needed to offer you first-class audit, tax and accounting advice. But most importantly, we'll work closely with you to help your business grow long-term. Perhaps it's time to see what we can do for you. Arrange your free consultation at barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
Only Vodafone brings you a 2-year Red entertainment plan with the stunning new Samsung Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus. Choose from Amazon Prime Video, Spotify Premium, and Now TV Entertainment Pass or Sky Sports Mobile TV. That's 2 years on us. Perfect with the endless Infinity O display. Go online or in-store today. A galaxy of entertainment can now be yours. The future's exciting. Ready? Vodafone. Available on Red entertainment plans. Entertainment renews with charge after 24 months unless cancelled. Terms at vodafone.co.uk/red entertainment.
Most radio adverts begin in a pristine recording studio, but not this one. We're recording on the streets of central London, polluted by toxic air. Because there's no better place to tell you that the Central London ultra-low emission zone is coming on the 8th of April this year. For vehicles that don't meet the new stricter emission standards, it will apply 24 hours a day in the same area as the congestion charge zone. From the 8th of April, you can either pay the daily charge online, via the free official TfL app, or sign up to AutoPay for a £10 annual admin fee per vehicle. Search ULEZ to check your vehicle and see if you need to pay. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
When it comes to business meetings, some things never change. Like getting hit by the inevitable train pain on the day of the presentation. Ooh, that hurt. Right in the signal box. But some things do change. Like being able to get on a different kind of platform that lets you present your documents remotely, so you can seal the deal without delay. All aboard! Next stop, Promotionville. Powwow now. A new kind of web meeting. Join free today.
Are you buying a new home? Your mortgage company may just value from a desktop with no surveyor ever visiting the property. WeDoSurveys.com can help you choose the right property. As map chartered surveyors since 1983, we inspect around 10,000 properties every year. Visit WeDoSurveys.com for a free consultation and free Rick's Guide to Home Surveys. WeDoSurveys.com, your friend in the property business.
Okay, listen up. Mr. Intel?
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduced the Vonage business phone system. You can make and receive calls on your laptop or smartphone using one business landline number.
One number on all your devices?
Yes, all of them. Never miss a call again and always look professional, anywhere, anytime.
Okay, let's do this.
Make Vonage part of your entourage. A business-ready phone system from just £9 a month. To find out more, go to vonage.co.uk. Terms apply.
Vonage. Sounds like good business to me.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag FarageOnLBC.
Well, Mrs May's Strasbourg dash last night just has not done the business because the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, has said, look, actually, the truth of it is, there is no internationally lawful means of exiting the arrangements, namely the Irish backstop. So she's going to lose tonight. The question is, by how much? I'm also wondering just how long she can actually survive as leader. But lots of pressure is coming on MPs. Vote for this agreement, the Prime Minister said, or there could be no Brexit. And within the last 10 minutes, Michel Barnier, charming to the end, is saying if you don't vote for this agreement, there will be no transition period. What he's saying is that we would crash out. That's the words they all use on WTO terms. Well, I don't know about you. I've had enough of us being pushed about by these unelected bureaucrats. They're arrogant, rude, and they don't seem to like us very much. That's my view. But tell me I'm wrong when I say this deal should be voted down. Tell me it should be voted for. Call 0345 6060 973. Ben in Bristol is calling. Good evening, Ben.
Well, greetings again from Babylon.
Hi there.
Nigel. But you sense the weariness in my voice. Sometimes over the times we've spoken a lot, and I've kind of often been more on Theresa May's side than you were. But even I admitted to you a couple of months back that I think that I was wavering greatly. But I see her today, when her voice broke in that comment, it was as though the voice is such a powerful thing of authority, isn't it? It was as though the physical represented the spiritual. The physical authority was gone.
Didn't she, Ben?
She's on like a last chance saloon. Like, if she gets this through, Who knows? It could be a mercurial lapse, but it's highly unlikely. Where is the courage to just stand up and say, okay, you didn't accept this deal. I'll put it through. I'll give it what is people are asking for. I'll give it the no deal. I'll push it through. It's staring her in the face. That amazing statistic, 44% of people would back her on that. Incredibly powerful statistic, yet lacking the courage to do it. I think there's a time when a leader's authority is just wanes. I cannot see, Nigel, I have no energy to keep believing in that she might just get it right. I like to give people a chance. It's like that football manager who carries on, you know what I mean? A lot of the fans back him, a lot of them are saying sack him, but there's certain results that come. You know what I mean? You lose.
Ben, my problem with her isn't just one of competence, isn't just one that she never believed in it. It's that, frankly, and I'm going to say this, I think she's been openly duplicitous with us again and again and again. There she was last night, here in Strasbourg, saying we would, definitive, we would be able to leave the backstop unilaterally, and it just wasn't true.
Nigel, and also when I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, if you remember with Esther McVeigh, I couldn't believe it. You might not recall it to us. I said to her, Esther, who's really pulling the strings here, in the negotiation? And she said it was Ollie Robbins.
That's right. It's an outrage. Ben, she's not... So the deal goes down. What happens then, Ben? Do you think she's got the guts to go for no deal, or is it extension?
I'd pray and hope this last chance saloon is she'd have to buck up and say, I'll go all out, no deal. Otherwise, make way for somebody who has got the guts to do it.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you for your call. Always good to hear from you. Helen on Facebook says, we should take no deal. I'm fed up with all these scare tactics. Here. Peter says, it's correct. Is it correct? We're to be charged $1 billion for every month we extend. Well, Peter, that was the position, but now Barney is saying there could be no extension at all. Well, at least that would save us some money, wouldn't it? Brenda says, the majority of MPs put party interests ahead of those of the country and democracy. Corbyn and those around him are merely in pursuit of power. I think Corbyn has come out of this looking a bit selfish and looking as though, it's his interest and the Labour parties that matter more. And Derek says, it's just could, always could, nothing definitive. Yeah, but Derek, last night she said would, and it wasn't true. The vicar's daughter said something that wasn't true. I don't think she's long for this job. And I really wonder whether Geoffrey Cox is the kind of figure that both wings of the Conservative Party could come around and he could be appointed without a contest. Maybe I've got this wrong, but I think today he's behaved honourably and truthfully. I genuinely do. Charles is calling from Birmingham. Charles, imagine you've got 35 minutes to go. You're in the House of Commons. What are you going to do?
Vote it down straight away.
Why?
It's just no good. It ties into his backstop. And we still got the CGJ. We're still in the customs union. We voted to leave.
Yes, well, the customs union point, Charles, you're the first person to raise it tonight. But what is really interesting is that, actually, in the political declaration, and I quote, we're going to build and improve on the single customs territory. And all the way through, all of these documents, the existing ones and the new ones that came out last night, there seems to be a continual commitment from this government to stay as close as we can to the customs union. And that, Charles, just is not Brexit, is it?
No. To me, I expected to leave. And I'll be honest with you, I expected 2 years of negotiations, not an extension transition period to do the negotiations. I thought that would have been done in one. But when she loses tonight, I believe she may have the guts, correct me if I'm wrong, to stand up and say, I'm now taking control and I'm going to go and ask for an extension off my own back, which she can do.
Yeah, but if she asks for extension, that's the moment at which, isn't it, the EU might start making lots of demands on her, like holding a second referendum.
Well, if she goes for an extension, the best thing she could do, she went for one, is say to the EU, I'm going for an extension until 2021, and we do all the deals, everything right the way through till then, and we leave then. And that's the only way you could do it.
Yeah. Well, Charles, apart from what you want, what do you think will happen?
Well, she'll get voted down, and I'd love her to stand up and say, I'm resigning, goodbye. I really would.
Well, we're getting close. We're getting close. Charles, thank you. Neil and Leon C says to me, I'm a long-term fan of yours, Nigel, and appreciate what you've done. But is the reality not that if Mrs May's deal doesn't go through, we will end up staying in the EU? My problem, Neil, is if Mrs May's deal does go through, effectively, we still stay in the European Union, we pay a huge amount of money, we're stuck in an arrangement that doesn't even have an Article 50 to get out of it, and it is Brexit in name only, Neil, is being polite about this arrangement. Frankly, I think by voting this down, and if Barnier and others want to threaten us, I think, Neil, we're getting a few steps closer to possibly leaving on March the 29th with a clean break. I still wouldn't put it above 30%, but it's a lot higher than it was yesterday, and I certainly believe that. Dave in Middleton is a first-time caller. Good evening, Dave.
Oh, yes, good evening to you, Nigel. Pleasure to speak with you. Was actually at Leafeting this weekend in Vicky Ford's constituency, Chelmsford, for Leave Means Leave. So,
okay, right, well, welcome. So, Dave, I presume that as a Leave Means Leaver, you're against this deal?
Oh, of course. Yes, as you say, it's just obviously like being locked in, paying loads of money with no way out. I actually think Theresa, and I've actually sent her an email on Sunday night. I don't know if you're listening, Theresa, if you read my email, but I think we need to be big and bold and stand up and go against the will of Parliament. Whatever Parliament decides, do not implement it and take us out in WTO.
Can do, Dave. She's got the power to do it. But didn't she look a bit weak and broken today?
Say again, beg your pardon?
A bit weak and broken today. Looked like she was in charge of any of this to me, Dave.
I actually think she should stand up against all of this nonsense going on in Parliament, because Parliament are going against the will of the people. The people have voted. The MPs are in Parliament because of the people put them there to do their work for them. And the MPs that are voting against the will of the people should be ashamed of themselves. This is absolutely diabolical, I think.
Well, Dave, a lot of people will agree with that. I think we are being treated in a very contemptuous way. A lot of our political class want to overturn the referendum result. This Prime Minister has told the House of Commons over 100 times we are leaving on March the 29th, and we still could if she had the will to stick with the legislation. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
MPs are now preparing to vote on Theresa May's revised Brexit deal. She's warned if they don't support it, then they risk not leaving the EU at all. But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's insisting nothing has changed, and some Tory and DUP Eurosceptics have also confirmed they cannot back the agreement, even with improvements to the controversial Irish backstop. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier says tonight he's been listening to the debate in the Commons and that there will be no transition period if there's no withdrawal agreement. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says an avalanche on Ben Nevis, which has killed 2 climbers, is absolutely tragic news. Police say mountain rescuers were called to help just before midday. A climbing party was in the number 5 gully area at the time. Boeing says safety is its top priority as it suspends all 737 MAX model operations across Europe following Sunday's Ethiopian Airlines crash. Earlier, 2 Turkish flights heading to Gatwick and Birmingham had to turn around and go back to Istanbul. LBC weather staying very windy with severe gales in the north as Storm Gareth hits. Heavy showers across central parts, drier elsewhere, a low of 3 degrees.
On Brexit, LBC holds the biggest names to account.
David Davis. If the government is strong enough about this, if you say, I'm going to walk away, what can they do? They're not going to invade you, are they?
Sir Keir Starmer.
Prime Minister's going to take us outside the customs union and outside the single market.
Philip Hammond.
Choice is between the Prime Minister's deal or taking a step into the unknown.
And they don't come much bigger than Boris Johnson.
Will be permanently tied to the EU's customs union. We'll be rules takers. That's not the way forward for this country.
On the morning after the meaningful vote, Boris Johnson joins Nick Ferrari to take your calls. Tomorrow morning from 9, exclusively on LBC.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Dad, when I grow up, I want to be
A doctor.
Oh.
With a stethoscope, yes, and a big black bag.
You'll have to work very hard at school.
At medical school.
Yeah.
Before a fixed-term specialty training appointment in clinical neurophysiology.
Okay.
The
Better get saving.
office. Post office. Here for your savings. Post office savings are provided by Bank of Ireland UK or One Family.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding there.
We love our sleep, and even though we use them less, we do still love real shops where we can get real customer service. Get the best of both. Buy your next new bed at Bridge Bedding, an incredible choice of beds and mattresses from the best-known brands in the UK, ensuring a great night's sleep. Bridge Bedding, Leigh-on-Sea, Hornchurch, or online at bridgebeding.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding bed.
Do you want a racing tip, Jürgen?
Oh, lucky me.
I've decided to back a horse called Photo Finish. It's been coming in first, and sometimes second, all over the country.
Don't bet silly. Bet savvy.
Get double your winnings up to £25 on the first race of every day at this year's Cheltenham Festival. All winnings paid in cash. The smart money's on Coral. 18 plus online, min bet £1 applies to first real money bet singles only. Full terms at coral.co.uk. When the fun stops, stop.
ISAs. They're all pretty. But what if there was one that was more...
That's what you get from Vitality. It's an ISA, but with more oomph. Invest in Vitality ISAs or Junior ISAs, and on top of any returns, we give you bigger and bigger boosts every 5 years. Up to 15% over 25 years. Just search Vitality Invest ISA. Vitality. Positively different. Like all investments, they can go down or up and you may get back less than you invest. Conditions apply.
Where are we?
The New Forest.
But I thought we only had the Mini Countryman booked for a test drive. We can't stay here.
We're not going to.
This isn't exactly what I meant.
Relax. With Mini's new 48-hour test drive, you can use the Countryman for exactly what it's built for. Exploring. Plus, it's an SUV, the largest Mini in the range, so you can pack loads more in.
Great. Where next?
Well, you know how you've always wanted to try kayaking?
The Mini Countryman 48-hour test drive. Visit mini.co.uk to book yours. Mini. Who's in? Test drive subject to status and availability. Terms and conditions apply. Participating Mini retailers only.
A good cup of tea can fix everything. Well, possibly not your broken boiler. But Trust a Trader are always on hand to help. TrustATrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable. So you'll have your pick of a great bunch. Simply pop the kettle on and head online to find a professional in their trade, including that heating engineer. See? A cup of tea does fix everything.
TrustATrader.com. Go there! Their unbiased information could save billions across the nation. Proudly independent, free and fair.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Ofsted are publishing research about the problems of knife crime in schools. Mike Sheridan is the regional director for Ofsted.
Schools are doing lots of work, but often in isolation.
What your report says then is that schools should work harder with other agencies and other bodies to try and root out knife crime.
Well, I think
you needed to do a report to say that?
Well, I think what we've done is we've got...
I mean, the negative is we need more knife crime. I mean, what have you been doing all day if that's your report?
What we've tried to do is give some really pragmatic answers to some...
What, that they should work with local authorities and the police? Well, it's not rocket science, is it, Mr. Sheridan?
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC. The Nigel Farage Show. Live from Strasbourg. Only on LBC.
Well, in 25 minutes' time, MPs will get their chance to have their say. But for now, you've got your chance to have your say. Would you vote for this deal? Because I certainly wouldn't. Tell me I'm wrong. Let's go to Michael in South Wales, a first-time caller. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Nigel. Delighted to be able to speak to you.
Well, welcome. So what would you do, Michael?
Definitely vote against. There's no doubt about that. This is possibly the worst deal any British Prime Minister has ever put forward to Parliament. It's exactly the same as the 230 vote that we had a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So, yes, a repeat performance, please.
It's the worst deal in history, Michael, isn't it?
It absolutely is. it's unspeakable. I watch lots of the debates and I've been very active in Leave. We've shook hands a few times, Nigel.
Have we? Very good.
One of the many thousands that have shook hands with you and had a brief conversation at various meetings over the years. But yes, she is, I would say, the possibly worst Prime Minister ever. And I think one of the reasons is, and you've been in business, and I have myself over many years, and if we have a project, and I don't care what discipline it is, you have a project you want to achieve, and you put a team together. You put a team together who have the same object in mind. Would you really put a team together that 2/3 are against the object of the project,
absolutely,
including the leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cabinet, it's a Remainers cabinet. Excuse me. And we've got a Remainers Brexit, Michael.
No, we haven't. No, and this is the other point I'd like to make, is that when you listen to MPs in Parliament, why did they stand and be elected to the oldest legislature ever? Wasn't it to be able to make laws on behalf of your constituents, or to influence laws that are made on behalf of your constituents?
I'd have thought so, Michael, but they appear to be happy for us to be part of the European project. Michael, thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your call. Jason on text says, "Hi, Nigel. May doing the same and expecting different results. Insanity or contemptuous?" Well, I don't know, Michael, the answer to that. I'm up to Mansfield to speak to Ross, another new caller. Good evening, Ross.
Evening, Nigel. Lovely to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. So if this deal goes down, Ross, there's a risk, particularly with the threats we're getting tonight, we could be forced to just leave with no deal.
Well, that'd be best all round, in my opinion, I think.
But you've been told, Ross, that money will leave the country, you could lose your job, your house price could go down. I mean, don't you listen to these clever people?
Do you know what? I spoke to my grandparents at some length. I'm a young man, I'm 24 years old, work full-time as an electrician. And I spoke to my grandparents at some length. My grandma told me in the 1960s she used to go to the shop and buy 3 eggs and 3 tomatoes to feed my granddad, my uncle, my dad. And she didn't have an egg or a tomato because they couldn't afford to do that. They're hard times. We don't know hard times today, especially my generation of people. We're a strong nation, and I think if we have got grit, determination like no other sort of people, and we can grasp hold of our own destiny here, and we can make a better life for myself, my family, and my future family.
Ross, I love the passion. I can hear it in your voice. Do you think our leaders have grit and determination?
No, right now, no. And I don't know whether they're trying to push their own agenda, whether they've got money involved in Europe, I don't know. But for the little man working 12 hours a day, and my girlfriend works 12 hours a day as a paramedic, just to make ends meet, we would rather take the hard times now, I think, to better have a prosperous future for ourselves and our offspring.
Do you know what, Ross? There's no guarantee of hard times. We were told if we voted leave, immediately 500,000 jobs would go, and they got it wrong. I love your passion, Ross. Great call. Thank you very, very much indeed. Steve says, Nigel, the only way Mrs May can redeem herself is for us just to leave. Matt and Sidcup says, Nigel, I'd reject her deal as it's inferior to the one we've currently got. I said from the off, to anyone that would listen, leave properly or don't leave. They are the two options. Well, Matt, in a sense, I agree with you. There was a fork in the road. You either take one direction or you take another. She's tried to do a bit of both, try to please everybody, try to hold her party together, and it has been an abject failure of leadership at every level. That is what I think. Michael in Norwich is a new caller. Good evening.
Hello, Nigel. Pleasure to speak to you.
Good to speak to you. So what's going to happen, Michael?
Well, he'll be voted down, obviously. There's no, it's a ridiculous deal in the first place, so there's no way that it can get through tonight. And I think she's in trouble.
Doesn't she deserve to be in trouble?
Well, yeah, absolutely. To be honest with you, I do think whoever stepped into that job had a very difficult job ahead of them. Let's not get away with that. She definitely had a difficult job coming up. This whole thing's been handled terribly from the beginning. It should have been a Brexiteer or a Leaver that was in charge in the first place. We were putting a Remainer in charge of the Brexit negotiations. Ridiculous. in the first place, in my opinion. And, you know, she should have been a lot stronger on this, in my opinion. From the beginning, it should have been, right, we're going to leave with no deal. If the EU can offer us something that we're interested in, then we'll listen. But as it stands, we're planning to leave with no deal.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you know, if that had happened, my view is they'd have come running down the corridor afterwards and said, please don't go, because they sell us, you know, 100 million bottles of Italian Prosecco every year and BMWs and all the rest of it. But she didn't do it, did she?
No, I absolutely agree with that. I truly believe, I agree with you. They'd have come after us. They would not have wanted us to leave with no deal. We import a lot from the EU. No one wants to lose a huge trading partner like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. We look like a laughing stock at the moment as a country. We have begged and borrowed and begged the EU to give us the deal that we want, and we still can't do it. We still can't negotiate a good deal.
And if it came to a no deal, Michael, if in the end, you know, she stands firm or we're forced out and we leave on a no deal, how worried are you?
I'm not worried at all. The day after the Brexit result came in, people were walking around like somebody had died. You know, but do you know what happened? Everything carried on. The sun still came up, and we moved on. Yeah, the pound dropped. But actually, it's steadily recovering. Life will go on. We're an investable country. Investors aren't suddenly going to turn their noses up. I work in property. You know, so I've seen effects, you know, come through. But actually, we've got to a point now. My first 3 months of this year have been better than my last 4 months of last year because there's a Brexit hangover, if you like. People are bored of it now, and people just want to get on.
Let's get on with our lives. Let's just leave. Michael, love you. Great call. Thank you. Lewis Goodall from Sky is saying he's just spoken to Steve Double. Steve Double is a Conservative MP for Cornwall, Eurosceptic, with 20 minutes to go, and he still doesn't know which way he's going to vote. And Goodall says, I've spoken to lots of Tory MPs who echo that. I wonder if there'll be some last-minute decisions in the voting lobbies which might surprise us. Well, I suppose anything's possible with MPs because they're quite good, aren't they, at saying one thing and doing another. I still do not believe that after what Geoffrey Cox has said, there's a cat's chance in hell of this deal going through. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 6:45 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
MPs are preparing to vote on Theresa May's revised Brexit deal after she secured legally binding changes to the problematic Irish backstop, but many say the improvements aren't good enough. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says an avalanche on Ben Nevis, which has killed 2 climbers and injured 2 others, is absolutely tragic news. Boeing's 737 MAX model aircraft has been banned from UK and European airspace following Sunday's Ethiopian Airlines disaster. LBC weather, a yellow weather warning for wind is in place for Wales, Northern Ireland, most of England and parts of Scotland as Storm Gareth now hits, a low of 3 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 still crawling from 21, that's the M1 to an accident before 25 for the A10. Anti-clockwise, one lane remains closed before Potters Bar at 24 with another accident. Now both of these problems are causing delays in both directions on the North Circular between the M11 and Coney Hatch Lane, definitely worth avoiding if you can. If you're heading south on the A12, expect queues towards an earlier accident between Mount Nessing at 12 and the M25, and there's a building on fire in Highbury. It's partly blocking the A1 upper streets at Canonbury Lane. Onto the trains due to an earlier power problem at Paddington. Great Western still have delays of an hour. TfL Rail have severe delays to and from Paddington, and there's a reduced service on Heathrow Express.
This is LBC.
Word in the woods is that 3 little pigs are looking to sell their homes quick. They seem to be in a spot of bother with the big bad wolf called Rick.
Come out, little piggies!
So they spoke to the friendly team at Property Rescue, who can offer a guaranteed sale in as little as 48 hours at a fair price and a cash advance if you need one. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
Their unbiased information could save billions across the nation. Proudly independent, free and fair.
When you get down to it, there are 2 choices in life. Yours or theirs. Theirs is be sensible, act your age. Yours is yeah. It's now or never. The bolder the choice, the wider the grin. Then nothing will make you grin more than the Abarth 595 range. Choose the No Prisoners City hatch from £199 a month plus initial rental. Go on. Go all in. Personal contract hire. £3,383 initial rental and 47 monthly payments on Abarth 595 Trofeo. 6,000 miles PA. Excess mileage charges apply. Valid till 31st of the 3rd 19. Registered by 30th of the 6th 19. T's and C's apply. Leases.
Have you had an operation that has left you with persistent pain around the healed scar? You may feel this pain as burning, aching, shooting, throbbing, or stabbing. At St Pancras Clinical Research, we're looking at a new potential treatment for this pain, which we apply topically. The study will take place in London, and if you volunteer, you'll be paid for your time and reasonable expenses. Find out more at stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
Highways England is here to improve your journey. Have you noticed the variable speed limits on the motorway? They're there to manage congestion, so you can have a smoother journey. They're also the law, so if you ignore them and get caught, you can expect a speeding ticket and penalty points. So if you see a speed limit next time you're on the motorway, it matters that you drive within it. For more information on variable speed limits, search online for smart motorways.
Most radio adverts begin in a pristine recording studio, but not this one. We're recording on the streets of central London, polluted by toxic air. Because there's no better place to tell you that the Central London ultra-low emission zone is coming on the 8th of April this year. For vehicles that don't meet the new stricter emission standards, it will apply 24 hours a day in the same area as the congestion charge zone. From the 8th of April, you can either pay the daily charge online, via the free official TfL app, or sign up to AutoPay for a £10 annual admin fee per vehicle. Search ULEZ to check your vehicle and see if you need to pay. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
ISAs, they're all pretty. But what if there was one that was more...
That's what you get from Vitality. It's an ISA, but with more oomph. Invest in Vitality ISAs or Junior ISAs, and on top of any returns, we give you bigger and bigger boosts every 5 years. Up to 15% over 25 years. Just search Vitality Invest ISA. Vitality. Positively different. Like all investments, they can go down or up and you may get back less than you invest. Conditions apply.
Thanks to people giving monthly donations, Cancer Research UK are funding thousands of life-saving research projects. So people like Alim can get back to enjoying family bike rides, birthdays, and games of football. As a dad, I understand just how precious those moments are. So, on behalf of all the families that have been helped, thank you. Thank you. See the impact of monthly donations by searching Cancer Research UK because of you. Together, we will beat cancer.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, despite having an absolutely horrendous day, Mrs May, and having been contradicted openly by her Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, some signs in the Commons that one or two, and maybe a little bit more of a trickle now, of MPs are coming back towards her to support the deal. I wonder whether Mr Barnier's threat of 45 minutes ago that said, unless you vote for this deal, there'll be no transition, namely, you're just going to have to leave on March the 29th. I wonder whether that threat has made a bit of a difference. And reports circulating now that former Brexit Secretary David Davis will be voting for the deal. And I wonder if that happens, whether he may well bring some others with him. I still think she loses, but hey, maybe it is beginning to narrow. Now, the Brexit Secretary, Steve Barclay, he's now up on his feet making a statement. Let's go live to the House of Commons.
The deal must change. And the government has listened to the concerns of the House, and it has done so. It returns to present a revised package which my right honourable friend the Prime Minister, my right honourable friend and learned friend the Attorney General and I are putting to the House, which signals a moment in time when we can move forward and when the country can move forward. It delivers the certainty our businesses need, the guarantees our citizens seek, the protections requested across the House on workers' rights and environmental standards. And on Gibraltar, as the Chief Minister himself has said on many occasions, the Prime Minister has been absolutely clear that we stand behind British sovereignty for Gibraltar, and that will never change. Above all, a vote for the deal tonight will deliver a wider global message that when this country votes, respecting strongly held differences of opinion, its Parliament acts on that public vote. Mr. Speaker, in recent weeks, the Prime Minister and senior members of the government have engaged widely, from trade unionists like Len McCluskey, to businesses, to EU leaders, and to many colleagues across the House. Even, on one occasion, when he finally got round to it, with the leader of the opposition. Tonight, the government presents a package of measures which will extinguish the risk of no deal and remove the democratic threat posed by no Brexit. The fear of being trapped in the backstop, of the EU using its leverage in negotiations, has been repeatedly raised, Mr. Speaker, in previous debates. I do not believe the EU ever intended to approach our future relationship in bad faith. And indeed, it's a slight irony that those who say they are European suggest that the backstop and the EU acting in bad faith is a concern of theirs. It's certainly not my experience of dealing with them. We share values and we want to trade together. But we have acted to address that risk. Of course, I go wait till my right on phone.
Well, it's an intervention there. We will we'll come back to the callers. Steve Barclay there. He's summing up. It looks to me like they're going to lose in a few minutes' time, but if David Davis and people like that suddenly... I can't believe that David Davis would vote for this deal. He resigned from the Cabinet over the withdrawal agreement, over the backstop, and the Attorney-General tells us nothing has changed. I wonder whether they're trying, above all, to save the Conservative Party. I wonder whether that's their motivation, whether they're scared of a second referendum. I don't know. Nonetheless, I think the deal still goes down. I'm going to go to Ros in Oswestry, another first-time caller. Ros, what would you do if you were down there tonight?
Well, I think they're a bunch of spineless creeps, to be honest, Nigel. I feel really angry towards them because they are betraying the British public tonight. If they vote this through, they might as well pack up the House of Parliament, turn it into a museum, and all go and live in Brussels, because none of us will ever vote again.
How long, Ross, have you felt like this?
Well, I've supported you since you started UKIP many years ago. I've been on the streets. I've been on the Huskins for you. I've never actually joined you, but I've always supported you. But I felt very strongly. I voted in 1973, was it, to 75. Be a member of the Common Market. Uh-huh. Nobody asked me about the flag. Nobody asked me if I wanted to be part of Federal Europe. And now I have politicians who are lying to me, who are cheating me. And I do feel strongly, Nigel.
No, I can tell. Well, let's hope this deal goes down, Ross. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your call. Barbara says to me on Facebook, we should have left in 2016. That's what I voted for, not any deal. Well, I agree with that, Barbara. Ben says, what are the odds on May resigning tomorrow morning? Well, the one thing about May, she has been remarkably limpet-like, hasn't she? Stuck on that rock with all these storms crashing all over her. But I have to say, if she loses this by 3 figures or more, I just don't see how she can possibly stay on. But I've said that before, and I've been wrong. Alan is a new caller from Broome in Bedfordshire. Good evening, Alan.
Hello, Nigel. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm just really hoping, Alan, even though I've wanted Brexit for 25 years, I'm hoping this deal goes down in a few minutes' time, because it doesn't deliver Brexit and it leaves us trapped.
I would vote it down too, Nigel, but the problem is I can see why people are changing. Because what they see is we're likely to not get Brexit at all the way it's going, because what will happen, they'll vote against no deal tomorrow, then they'll go for an extension, probably for another referendum, but the problem is they're not going to give us the question that we want on the referendum. We're going to get May's deal or Remain. Nobody
well, that'll be outrageous.
It would be outrageous, but that's what we're going to be stuffed with, Nigel. They're going to stuff us. You can see it coming. I have not seen a single person that's talking about another referendum say that it should be a straight Remain or Leave with no deal.
Well, I'm not sure, Alan. I'm not sure Remain should even be on the ballot paper. We voted on that, didn't we?
I'm absolutely sure it shouldn't. But it's what we're going to get, Nigel. And what I would hope
what are we going to do, Alan?
People like yourself that are prominent campaigners are lobbying and campaigning to make sure that we get the correct question on what I see as this almost inevitable now, forced into a second referendum.
Now, Parliament is supposed to be, our representatives. You're basically saying they're failing in their task.
Oh, they completely failed. They failed from the word go. And
so
I think,
what do we do, Alan, to change things?
They didn't want to go. They didn't want to go, and they're going to stuff us. That's the bottom line. Everything they've done has followed a path that means we're not going to get what we voted for. And actually, Nigel, I voted to remain originally.
Did you?
And that was because I was, in terms of the EU, I was politically naive. I didn't look into it. It took a very short period of looking into this European mafia who are now giving us orders and sending us text by tweet to do as we're told for me to change my mind.
They certainly are. Well, Alan, look, I understand your sentiments. Thank you for your call. There are absolutely millions. Jacob Rees-Mogg has just spoken in the House of Commons and said he will be voting against the deal. Thank goodness for that. And we'll see what David Davis does and whether that was just a rumour. Well, whatever happens, I'm meeting Michel Barnier at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I wonder what more threats he'll have for us. I think she loses tonight. I think she loses quite big. We'll know in a few moments' time. Later on tonight it'll be Tom Swarbrick, but taking us through this big, dramatic moment in British politics and history is Ian Dale.
Nigel, thank you very much indeed. It doesn't get much bigger than this. Tonight could